Hey everybody, Dart here, and I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit an, a subject that seems to come up over and over and over and over again. And by the way, that's not my UI. Uh, no, I don't use Bartender. I'm not much of a keyboard player. I do, however, have a Razer noggin. It serves me very well. Now, what I'm talking about is Warcraft being a dead thing, or is Warcraft dying, or is this going to be Warcraft's last expansion? That sort of thing. And it always seems to come up on almost a daily basis. I have a little bit of a unique perspective on this, and I have some information that I was going to share with all of you. And I'd be happy to have you guys discuss it or kick it around or whatever in comments if you feel like it. A lot of people loved Vanilla WoW. That's an obvious thing. People loved Burning Crusades. I mean, this isn't, a maybe. It's just, it is what it is. People loved that time during the game. Wrath of the Lich King, hands down, best expansion, period. How can I say that? Well, the numbers, they don't lie. That's when Blizzard's subscription numbers peaked. During Cataclysm, we see the subscriptions start to drop off. Ditto Mists of Pandaria and Warlords of Draenor. Now, you look at this little bell curve of subscriptions and you think, Warcraft is doomed. Its subscriber numbers are falling off. Well, yes and no. If you take any game that runs the course of 10 or 12 years the way Warcraft has, yeah, at some point its numbers are going to peak and then it's going to start dropping off. And they'll go up every once in a while as new content is added. But what you have to figure is that anybody who played Warcraft 3, the Lich King was the iconic, badass, super villain type that whenever you play World of Warcraft, that's who you want to test yourself against. And I think Blizzard did a wonderful job of leading up to that. They introduced Illidan in Burning Crusades, and they gave such a build-up to Wrath of the Lich King, especially Icecrown Citadel, that towards the end you're just chomping your teeth, gnashing at the bit, wanting a piece of the guy. I know I did. Now, of course, after you wind up killing him, you run into the problem of, the Alexander the Great thing. Are there no more worlds for me to conquer, And I do think Blizzard set themselves up for that, in a way. There's not really any way around it for them, because they have to introduce that content at some point or another. And I think they did it at the logical time, whenever they'd have the most users in-game, subscriptions paid up, wanting to pursue that. So don't get me wrong there. But Cataclysm introduced a can of worms and some really, really huge issues that I kind of shake my head to this day, kind of thinking about how they did this and what could have been better with it, because it could have been so much better. The first problem with it is the storyline. Cataclysm's storyline was all over the place. I mean, you start off They haven't even launched the expansion yet. You're getting shaking whenever you go into a major town, elementals popping up everywhere, you know, problems with Deathwing. Supposedly being here, Cho'Gall running around in plain sight, none of the faction leaders being able to do a darn thing about it. Oh, I guess I can't go through the portal that way, huh? Oops. I'm a noob. But there's just way too much for any of us to really take in. I mean, it was ridiculous. They had the storyline going in 4 opposing different directions, and who really wants that? I mean, the start of the expansion, they've got Deathwing wreaking havoc. They've got elemental lords that we're supposed to put down. Twilight's hammer. And the game it's literally going in 3 or 4 different directions. And that, I think, hurt the game. Us not knowing, where we're supposed to be. There's so much confusion. And it just messed everybody up. At the same time, it did open a lot of fronts. I mean, it gave us Stonecore, Highjaw, Oldham. It gave us Grimbatol and the Twilight Saber area out in that direction. Vazir. Twilight Highlands. I mean, it really offered us a lot of content. Granted, that content was spread to the ends of the earth, or ends of Azeroth, but they did pretty well by us. They also introduced flying, so that was something. And people will argue that back and forth. Was flying in Azeroth a good thing or a bad thing? And it's a very contentious subject. And if you look at it from a game design perspective, you have to say no. If you look at it from an ease of playability standpoint, you have to say yes. So, 6 of one, half a dozen of another. I do like the compromise that the design team has put in on expansions going forward, where you have to unlock flying in a given expansion. But that's kind of a tangential point, and I don't really think we need to worry about that so much right now. Getting back to expansions, Mists of Pandaria. I personally loved the expansion. Once I got past all the panda bears and wondering who the heck the bad guy was. I mean, the ultimate bad guy. I mean, yeah, I recall reading the original, advertisements and whatever for Mists of Pandaria, thinking, Shaw. What the heck is a Shaw? Why do I care about Shaw? I mean, then you come to find out, after you play through the quest chains, the Shaw's actually, kind of a remnant of an old god. Then it starts to make a little bit of sense, and I'm like, okay, I can deal with this. This is what I play the game for. And I will say that, everything aside, all my misgivings at the storyline and having been thoroughly stomped into the mud in Warlords of Draenor, Mists of Pandaria, as far as I'm concerned, not a bad expansion. Then you get to Warlords of Draenor and Garrisons. The storyline didn't do it for Warlords. I think everybody agrees it was the Garrisons. Nobody likes doing chores. Nobody likes being stuck in a box or a room or whatever, just staring at the same 4 walls. That's not why we play the game. But to say that the game is dead or dying or whatever, I don't think is really accurate. I think if you've stuck with the game for the past 10 years, 12 years, whatever, and you guys know who you are, if you have pre-ordered Legion or you're thinking about Legion, I think it will be a wonderful thing. And I am hoping, against hope, that they nail the storyline and that they nail the gameplay. Now, do I think that's going to keep people in the game for a full 2 years? No. Quite frankly, no. And Blizzard dropped the ball on that, quite frankly, with Warlords not adding a content patch for a year, almost, before launching Legion. I think that was a major slap in the face to the player base. That should have been handled very, very differently. But that aside, I do think that Legion will be a very positive thing. And I have friends who are alpha testing it now, and from what I've heard, it will be amazing. But World of Warcraft dying? Nah. No way. Not happening right now. It's just one of those things. Every 2 years you dust it off for about a year or so, play it. You run out of things to do. Put it down, go chase other games for a while. Then come back to it later. It's not dead. It's just geriatric. And that's all I've got to say. Hey, thanks, guys. As always, if you like the comment, feel free to leave me a comment or two, like, subscribe, and let me know what you guys would like to hear about. Thanks so much. This is Dart. Take care.